Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're climbing high into the mountains, into a philosophical arena set on the misty crags of Gast. We're going to dissect a really dense, really poetic confrontation between two incredible archetypes. One, an ancient, unmoving sovereign, and the other, a transformed, predatory adversary.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. We're going to treat this whole thing like a six-act play. Honestly, it's the best way to unpack the core arguments as they build on each other, from this initial standoff on a mountaintop all the way to a final, pretty chilling prophecy for the entire world.
So, Act 1. Our story kicks off on a ledge with an incredible name, the Pulpit of the Perished Stars. Up here, this ancient being, who's described like a shroud of freezing fog, is just watching this uncanny traveler make his way up the peaks. You can just feel the tension in the air. The stage is definitely set for a major clash of ideas. And here they are, our two opposing forces. On the one hand, you've got the Grim Nash. He's called a calcified pillar and the spirit of gravity. Something ancient, sovereign, and just rooted in this idea of negation. And on the other side, we've got Salvio Pollio, this wanderer, a former priest who is completely transformed into an architect of annihilation. You see, the Ganache, our sovereign, he doesn't just see Polito as some simple rival. No, he sees him as a living, breathing prophecy, a symptom of what he calls a world's long tiredness. So Polito isn't just climbing a mountain, he's embodying this predatory mission that is actively trying to undermine the very idea of creation and growth.
All right, now we get to the first huge concept that the Ganache brings up. He looks at Pallador's whole new crusade, and he just immediately diagnoses what's at the heart of it, and he gives it a name that's, well, it's both incredibly dismissive and brilliantly insightful.
And there it is, the will to nap. The Ganache just completely tears away all the royal, noble pretenses of Pallador's mission and calls it what he sees it as. It's such a powerful accusation, right? Because it reframes this grand philosophy as something much more basic, much more cowardly. A desire not for a better world, but for a world with zero challenges.
Just think about that for a second. This is not about being lazy. The will to nap is an active philosophical choice. It's this deep-seated desire for a life with no friction, a total refusal to engage with risk, or struggle, or growth, and then dressing it all up in the language of a righteous crusade.
So this is how the whole philosophy actually works in practice. It doesn't build anything new, not at all. Instead, it just acts like a shield. It's a mask to hide from terrifying truths, a weapon to shut down anyone who dares to strive, and just a flat-out rejection of what the text calls the fire of true creation. It's just a stagnant feedback loop, fueled by nothing but its own reflection.
So how does something like a will to nap become so appealing? Well, any base desire, it needs a formal ideology to give it some structure. And the Ganache, of course, he identifies this too, giving it another name that's just as mocking and just as perfect.
Pilato's ideology gets branded the Gospel of the Belly. The name itself tells you everything, doesn't it? It suggests a focus on the most basic physical needs, safety and comfort, over any kind of higher spiritual or creative calling. This is the system that basically justifies and sanctifies the will to nap.
So if the will to nap is the why, the core motivation, then the gospel of the belly is the how. It's the doctrine, the rule book. It takes this passive desire for comfort and twists it into an active spiritual mission. It literally turns apathy into a virtue.
And here you see the gospel's core tenets, this new trinity, safety, comfort, and stagnation. This is the bedrock of Pallador's new identity as a so-called redeemed judge. By putting these three things above everything else, he has, as the Ganache says, locked his own gears permanently in a state of apathy.
This brings us right to the climax of the whole confrontation. We finally get to the heart of Pallador's transformation. Where did he get this new power? Well, the Ganache doesn't see it as an achievement. He sees it as a kind of parasitic infection, a stolen vitality.
I mean, the language here is just incredible. Pallador's royal mantle, this new symbol of his authority, it shimmers with what's called a stolen parasitic vitality. And it's colored by a refracted violet aura, which is immediately and very chillingly linked to a spiritual black hole.
So let's be clear. This violet aura is not a sign of enlightenment, not even close. It is the mark of a predator. It's a power that doesn't create its own light, but instead consumes the light of others. It turns the soul into a void that literally feeds on the creative energy and potential of everyone else. And that's what makes Polito the violet adversary.
Yeah,
Let's just let that image sink in for a moment. The source text could not be more clear. The power that's driving Pallado isn't generative like a star, it's a consuming one, a void. It's a power that comes entirely from negation, from drawing in and just extinguishing the fire in other people.
Okay, so he's armed with this parasitic power. What's his ultimate goal? What's the end game for this whole philosophy? The Ganesh sees it as a systematic project of just erasure. He calls it the logic of zero.
You can just feel the dismissal in the Ganesh's words. He calls Pallado's whole mission a jester's prank against the inevitable. This logic of zero is just a pointless attempt to force an artificial, empty center onto a universe that doesn't have one. In his eyes, it's a mission that's already doomed to fail.
The key word here really is systematic. This is not random destruction. The logic of zero is a calculated mission to make every variable of a life, every ambition, every struggle, every single spark of genius just cancel itself out and equals zero. It's the pursuit of ultimate featureless equality inside a void.
So this slide basically lays out his tactical playbook. His whole goal is to be a saboteur of the human spirit. He targets people who take risks, the souls in motion, and he works to blunt their potential, to devalue everything they achieve, and ultimately to turn them into these uniform, featureless bricks inside a comfortable cage they've built for themselves.
And here we are, our final act. The tone shifts dramatically. The Nash has made his point. He's defined his opponent. And now he just turns his back and leaves, leaving us with a really chilling prophecy for the world.
And this is the great twist. The Nash concludes that Pallado's mission, this Faustian inversion as he calls it, it wasn't some obstacle that needed to be defeated. No, it was a necessary prologue. By clearing the field of vanity, by blunting potential, Pallado was unknowingly just paving the way for what comes next. The absolute dominion of the Red Spectre.
So this table gives us the complete picture of the whole philosophical system we've just unpacked. It all starts with a core motivation, the will to nap. That's given a formal structure by an ideology, the gospel of the belly. And its ultimate expression is this parasitic power, the violet aura. It's a complete, horrifying, self-contained engine of spiritual annihilation. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. Was Savio Paulito just a villain? A failure who was trying to drag the rest of the world down with him? Or was his transformation into the violet adversary an inevitable symptom of a tired, decaying world? A necessary catalyst to clear away the old and make way for some terrifying, absolute new chapter. The text, as you might have guessed, gives us no easy answers.